I always thought life had a funny way of letting you believe you're in control until it yanked the rug from under you. My name's Jonathan Lee. I'm 33, an architect in Chicago, and the youngest son in a family that has made success its second language. Growing up, it was always clear who had the spotlight. My older brother, Matthew, had the grades, the career, the marriage, the kids. He was the one everyone trusted to carry the torch. I always felt like the backup plan, always a little behind, always a little in the shadows. But then there was Maya. Beautiful, smart, confident. I thought she was my escape. The one thing that could pull me out of that suffocating, underwhelming shadow. We'd been together for 2 years, engaged for 6 months, and everything was falling into place. I could almost taste it, the life I had dreamed of. The house, the wedding, the kids. The dream felt real. We were at a bakery in downtown Chicago, picking out the cake for our wedding. The kind of place you see on Instagram, all polished white marble and gleaming glass displays. A small part of me felt a thrill in being here, in these moments, living the dream. I had arrived early, as I always do, on time, precise, waiting like I was taught. Maya was always a little more relaxed, and today, she was running late. But that was normal. We had a schedule to keep, a list of things to do, things to cross off before the big day. Nothing could go wrong. But when she arrived, it was different. She kissed me, but her eyes were somewhere else. I could see it, the hollow space between us that hadn't been there before. She didn't seem interested in the cakes, didn't seem interested in anything. I tried to shake it off. Stress, maybe. Wedding jitters. We had a lot to plan, after all. As the baker brought out the samples, I tried to lighten the mood, making small talk, talking about the flavors. The vanilla bean with raspberry filling. The dark chocolate with salted caramel. The almond with lemon curd. Each cake looked like a little piece of art, but Maya barely touched hers. She poked at the edges of the slices, distracted, never making eye contact. I should have noticed then. But I didn't. Maya, I said, forcing a laugh. You've got to try at least one bite. This one, vanilla bean with raspberry, it's unbelievable. She barely smiled. I'm fine, she said. Her voice was flat. Her gaze never met mine. I pushed forward, pretending it was just nerves, trying to keep the conversation light. So, cake, venue, guests, we're nearly there. Right? Just a couple more things, and we're done. But something felt wrong. Maya was just gone. Not physically. She was there, sitting across from me. But her mind? It wasn't. It hadn't been for a while. Then, without warning, she stood up. I'll be right back, she said, and left. Just like that. Without explanation. Without a second glance. I watched her leave, unable to move. The baker awkwardly tried to fill the silence with more cake descriptions, but I barely heard her. All I could think about was how, in the time it took for Maya to walk out, my world had shifted, and I didn't know it yet. I didn't even question it at first. She was stressed. I told myself that. She was probably just overwhelmed. The wedding, the future. Everything piling up on her. But when the minutes passed, I started to get uneasy. My stomach turned. I stood up, checking my phone for any messages. None. I walked outside to the parking lot, looking for her car. Nothing. I waited, not knowing what else to do. The sun shone brightly, too bright for this feeling. The bakery was quiet, the hum of distant traffic like the background to my own growing panic. Then, a single vibration in my pocket. A text. From Maya. I can't marry you. You deserve someone better. Don't contact me again. I stared at the words, trying to understand them. Trying to make sense of them. But it didn't. It didn't fit. I thought she was joking at first, some cruel prank, but the weight of the words pressed on my chest. The world around me blurred as I read the message again. She was gone. And just like that, she left me. The bakery door opened behind me, the bell ringing loudly in the silence. I turned, expecting to see Maya walking back, but instead, a woman handed me an envelope. "For you," she said, her voice soft. I took it, my hands trembling. The envelope was pristine, the edges sharp. It felt heavy in my hands. Inside, there was only one note. "I'm leaving. Don't try to find me." I could barely breathe. Maya was gone. And with her, everything I thought I knew about my life. I had a future, or so I thought. But in that moment, it was all ripped away. I stood there, staring at the note, feeling the world spin around me. What had I missed? What had been happening behind my back? And where the hell had she gone? And then, like a cold, final punch, my phone rang. Her name flashed on the screen, but when I picked up, there was only static. Then, a low, distorted voice. A voice I didn't recognize. "If you ever want to see Maya again, come along." The line went dead. I stared at the dead phone line in my hand, disbelief creeping up my spine like ice. The voice on the other end, distorted, cryptic, was the final confirmation. Maya wasn't just gone, she was gone in a way that had nothing to do with cold feet or wedding nerves. She was playing a part in something much darker. I had to find her, but I wasn't sure who I was chasing anymore. I sat on the edge of the couch, the note in my hand crumpled like it had been torn apart in my mind 1,000 times over. The note Maya left me in the parking lot was simple: "I'm leaving. Don't try to find me." The word spun in my head, and the image of her walking out of the bakery was still vivid. The way she had looked back at me for one fleeting second before disappearing. That glance? That wasn't the same woman I had spent 2 years with. It was the look of someone who had already made up their mind. I could feel it then, the pit in my stomach. That unease that had followed me throughout the day, as if I had missed something, but I hadn't known what it was. That feeling in my chest when I saw her distracted, when she barely touched the cake, when she seemed so distant. Something was wrong. And I was too blind to see it. My phone buzzed again. I didn't recognize the number, but something in me made me pick up. "Jonathan Lee," a voice said, a woman's voice, low and calm. "Detective Rachel Turner. We need to talk." I sat up, instantly alert. My throat tightened. "About what?" "About Maya. And about why she's been lying to you." The words hit like a slap. I didn't know what to say. It was like a hand reached down from the darkness and was pulling me into something I couldn't control. Maya was hiding something. No, Maya was the one who had been hiding from me. "You're the one who's been chasing her, aren't you?" Detective Turner continued. Her voice was crisp, unfeeling, as if she'd already made up her mind about me, or maybe about Maya. "You don't know who she really is, do you?" I felt my pulse spike. "What do you mean?" There was a pause on the other end. A long, stretched-out silence, like she was calculating her next move. Then she said, "I've been investigating a man named Victor Grant. His organization's been active in the city for months. You've probably never heard of him. But Maya? She's involved with him. She's been lying to you about who she is. What she's been doing. I'm not sure if she's a victim, but I'm certain she's not the person you think she is." Everything in me froze. The room felt smaller. My chest tightened with a growing panic. "No," I whispered, almost to myself. "That can't be true." "I'm afraid it is," Turner said. "There's a lot more to your fiancée than you think." I swallowed hard. "What are you saying?" "Maya's been working for Victor Grant," she said, her voice firm. "4 months. She's been feeding information to him, moving money through your accounts, and I'm sure there's much more we haven't uncovered yet. But we're getting closer. We've been tracking the money, Jonathan. She's deep in this. And now, she's gone. If she's not gone to hide, she's gone because she's part of something much bigger than you ever realized. I felt the ground under me shift, like I was losing control of my own thoughts. I didn't want to believe it. Maya? The woman I was about to marry? Involved in something criminal? Is this a joke? I choked out, the words barely audible. No joke, she said. You've got to understand, Jonathan, Maya has been playing you from the beginning. This isn't a case of cold feet. This is much darker. And now, she's disappeared. I couldn't breathe. A wave of nausea hit me, the walls closing in around me as I tried to make sense of it all. It wasn't possible. Maya, the person I trusted, the woman I was about to marry, wasn't just unavailable. She wasn't just stressed. She was tangled up in something criminal, something I was completely unaware of. But she left me a note, I stammered, the words tumbling out of my mouth. She said. Don't contact her, Turner interrupted sharply. It's a lie. It's all part of the act. Maya's playing a game with you. And we're not sure if she's the one being controlled, or if she's the one controlling this whole thing. I felt like I was falling. The world around me was spinning. I reached for the couch, my grip tightening on the fabric. I needed to think, needed to figure this out. I was in the middle of a nightmare I didn't know I was living in. Listen to me, Jonathan, the detective said, her voice cold and unwavering. You're not alone in this. But if you're going to find her, you need to come clean with me. I need everything you know about her. Her phone records, her contacts, where she might have gone. The more you tell me, the better chance we have of catching her and the people she's been working with. I stood there, frozen. What happens if I don't? Then you'll be left chasing shadows. Trust me. I know how this game works. I hung up the phone without saying another word. It didn't make sense. I didn't want it to make sense. The woman I was about to marry, the woman I had trusted more than anything, was involved with people who didn't just break laws, they tore lives apart. I stood there, the silence pressing in on me. I couldn't stay here. Not now. I grabbed my coat, my hand shaking as I fumbled for my keys. I didn't know where I was going, but I couldn't stay here any longer, trapped in the prison of this new reality I didn't ask for. I needed to find Maya. But first, I needed answers. The door slammed shut behind me, and I was already running. I stepped into the darkened alley, my mind running in circles. Maya was involved. Maya, the woman I was about to marry, was working for Victor Grant. The same man that Detective Turner had mentioned, the leader of the most dangerous syndicate in the city. How the hell did I not see it? The alley smelled like wet concrete and rust. I barely noticed. Everything around me felt unreal, like I was drifting through a nightmare I couldn't wake from. The text. The phone call. The note. Maya was gone, and the world I thought I knew was unraveling in front of me. What else had she been hiding? How deep was she in this mess? I needed answers. I needed them now. The apartment felt like a tomb when I walked in. Empty, silent, suffocating. It was hard to believe that just a few days ago, we had been making wedding plans, laughing over cake flavors. Now, it was all shattered, nothing but broken dreams and a string of lies. I dropped the envelope from Maya on the kitchen counter. I hadn't even had the courage to open it yet. Her words, that simple sentence, "I'm leaving. Don't try to find me," echoed in my head, mocking me. How could she just leave? Was it really that easy for her? I moved to the living room, pacing back and forth. My mind raced with questions. Was she planning this all along? Was I just a fool? The betrayal was suffocating. How had she kept this secret from me for so long? The phone buzzed in my hand, and I picked it up without thinking. It was a message from Chris Walker, Maya's ex. I froze for a moment, then opened it. Meet me. I have something you need to know. It's about Maya. My stomach twisted. Chris was the last person I wanted to see right now. But if there was anyone who might know what was going on, it was him. We'd never gotten along, but he was still part of her life, a part one had never truly understood. I grabbed my jacket, feeling the cold air bite into me as I stepped out into the night. Chris's message had sent a chill down my spine, but I couldn't back out now. I needed answers. I drove across the city, the headlights cutting through the fog. The streets were empty at this hour, the occasional street lamp flickering overhead. The tension in my chest was unbearable. Every turn felt like a decision that would lead me deeper into something darker. What was Chris going to tell me? Was I ready for it? I parked outside the dimly lit bar where Chris had asked to meet. The neon sign above buzzed faintly, casting an eerie glow on the cracked pavement. As I stepped out of the car, my eyes scanned the surroundings, feeling like I was being watched, even though no one was there. The bar smelled of stale beer and cigarettes, the air thick with tension. Chris was already sitting at a table in the corner, nursing a drink. He looked up as I approached, his eyes narrow, calculating. He wasn't the same guy I'd met years ago. He'd changed. But then again, so had everything. "Jonathan," he said, his voice low. "You came." I didn't sit. I didn't want to get comfortable with him, not with everything that had happened. "What's this about, Chris?" I demanded, the words sharp in my throat. "What the hell do you know about Maya?" He leaned back, swirling his drink in his hand. "Maya's in deep, man. You have no idea what you're dealing with. I'm dealing with a woman I thought I knew. And now she's vanished. You tell me." He chuckled bitterly. "She's been playing you. All of you. She's not just some innocent woman caught up in a mess. She's been working with Victor Grant for months." I stared at him, disbelief crashing over me in waves. "What? No. That can't be true. You think she's just some sweet fiancée who got cold feet?" Chris's eyes locked onto mine, and for the first time, I saw something different, something darker. Maya's been laundering money for Grant's syndicate. She's been feeding him information, setting up deals, covering tracks. All while smiling at you. My world tilted. The words echoed in my head, drowning out the noise of the bar. Maya. Maya? I couldn't breathe. This couldn't be happening. "No. You're lying." "I'm not lying," Chris said, his tone flat. "She's been doing this for years. And you're just a pawn in a much bigger game." He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "If you want to find her, you need to understand that you're not just dealing with a runaway bride. You're in over your head, Jonathan." I felt the blood drain from my face. Everything I thought I knew about Maya was a lie. "Where is she?" I choked out, the words tasting bitter. "Where is she now?" Chris hesitated, then slid a folded piece of paper across the table. "She's with Grant. She's not just hiding from you. She's hiding from everyone." He paused. "She's gone dark, man. She's disappeared." I grabbed the paper without thinking, unfolded it, and saw the address scrawled on it. My heart raced as I read the words. It was a location on the outskirts of the city, a warehouse near the docks. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What's your angle, Chris?" His lips curled into a smirk. "Because you're in this now, too. And you're going to need someone who knows how to get to her." Something in his eyes told me I wasn't going to like what came next. He wasn't just offering help, he was pushing me into a corner. There was something off about his entire demeanor. Something wasn't right. "Get to her before Grant does," Chris said. "You don't want to know what happens when Victor gets his hands on her again." My pulse was pounding in my ears. The truth was unraveling too quickly, and every new layer was worse than the last. I stood up, the paper clutched in my hand, and turned to leave. Chris's voice called after me. "Remember, Jonathan. Not everything is as it seems." The words echoed in my head as I stepped out into the cold night, the weight of the situation sinking in. Maya wasn't just running away from me. She was running from something far worse. And now I was right in the middle of it. I had to find her. But I had no idea what I was walking into. And in that moment, I realized just how much danger I was truly in. The streets blurred by in a sickening rush. The soft hum of my car's engine was the only sound, until my heart began to pound louder than anything. Every red light felt like a countdown, and every stop felt like I was running out of time. The address Chris had given me was burned into my mind, and with every turn I took, I felt like I was falling deeper into a hole I had no idea how to escape from. I thought I knew Maya. I thought I understood everything, our relationship, our future. But I'd been living in a lie, built on trust that had shattered in the span of a few texts, a few hours. The reality of it hit me in waves, harder each time. Maya, my fiancée, the woman I was about to marry, was involved in a criminal syndicate. And somehow, I'd been too blind to see it. I turned the corner, the warehouse loomed ahead, standing dark and silent under the faint glow of the streetlights. The old, rusted sign hanging above the entrance was barely legible, but it didn't matter. This was the place. My chest tightened as I slowed the car. I parked at the curb and sat there, gripping the wheel. It was too quiet. No sounds. No movement. Just shadows creeping in the corners of my vision. I stepped out of the car, my breath shallow. The air felt thick, like something was about to snap. The warehouse was like a beast in the night, its massive structure towering above me. The silence was suffocating, each step I took felt heavier than the last. Think carefully before you make the next move, I whispered to myself. There was no one to hear, no one to stop me. I needed answers. I moved towards the entrance, my steps cautious but quick. I didn't know what I was expecting, maybe Maya, maybe a trap. What I knew was this, I couldn't go back. Not now. There was too much at stake. The door creaked when I pushed it open, the sound of the rusted hinges slicing through the stillness. I winced but pressed forward. The warehouse inside was cold, the concrete floor chipped and littered with dust. I could hear distant voices, muffled, but there was no sign of Maya. No sign of anyone. I crept further inside, my every step echoing in the hollow space. Suddenly, a figure stepped into my path. I froze. My pulse quickened, a jolt of adrenaline shooting through me. But it wasn't Maya. It was a man, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black jacket that blended into the darkness. Looking for someone? His voice was low, almost amused. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my breath. Maya, I managed to say, though the word tasted like metal in my mouth. I'm here for her. I need to see her. The man didn't say anything at first. He just studied me, his eyes cold. Then, he stepped aside, gesturing toward the back of the warehouse. She's waiting for you. I moved forward, the tension in my chest growing heavier with every step. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was all wrong, that I was walking straight into a trap. But I couldn't stop. Maya was here. She had to be. The warehouse felt like a maze, the shadows wrapping around me like a second skin. Finally, I saw her. Maya. But she wasn't alone. Victor Grant, the leader of the syndicate, stood next to her. His presence was overwhelming, his dark eyes calculating, almost predatory. Maya looked different, colder, more distant. She was standing next to him, her arms crossed, eyes avoiding mine. I stopped in my tracks, a sinking feeling in my stomach. This wasn't right. Maya? My voice cracked. What the hell is going on? Why are you here? Why didn't you tell me? Her eyes flickered to mine for a second, then quickly darted away. It was as if I wasn't even standing in front of her. I told you not to come, Maya said flatly, her voice colder than I had ever heard it. You shouldn't have followed me. You don't belong here. Victor laughed, the sound dark and hollow. It's too late for that now, Jonathan. The game's already been played. I didn't understand. I couldn't understand. You're working with him? After everything? After us? The words tasted bitter on my tongue, but I pushed them out anyway. Maya didn't respond. Instead, she looked at Victor. That was all it took. That look. A look that sealed everything. I didn't want to hurt you, she said quietly, her gaze dropping to the floor. But I had no choice. There's more at play here than you understand, Jonathan. This isn't just about us. Victor moved forward, his imposing figure blocking my view of Maya. You were just a stepping stone, Jonathan. She was always meant for bigger things. I stood there, frozen, unable to comprehend what was happening. The woman I thought I knew had been lying to me this entire time. Not just about her past, but about everything. She was part of a criminal empire. Where is she, Victor? I spat, fury rising in my chest. Where is the real Maya? The one I knew? Victor's smile grew wider. She's standing right in front of you. It hit me like a punch to the gut. Maya wasn't the victim here. She never was. I was. Before I could react, there was a flash of movement. A gunshot rang out. The sound was deafening, sharp. I felt something cold graze past my ear, and then the world went into slow motion. I turned. Maya was holding a gun. But it wasn't aimed at me. Victor was on the ground, bleeding out, his body twitching. The gun fell from Maya's hand as she stared at him, her expression unreadable. What have you done? I gasped, stepping toward her, my breath ragged. I had no choice, she whispered. Her voice was hollow, empty. I never had a choice. In that moment, everything shifted. The stakes had just gone from bad to deadly. And I wasn't sure I was going to survive whatever came next. The room was silent now, except for the faint sound of Victor's labored breathing. And for the first time, I realized the truth. Maya was gone, and whatever was left was now just a game of survival. But there was one thing I knew for certain: the stakes had just gotten higher. I barely had time to process what had just happened. Maya had shot Victor Grant, the man whose empire spanned the city, whose reach extended far beyond anything I could ever imagine, and I still couldn't wrap my head around it. The gunshot echoed in my mind, a sound that would haunt me forever. My heart raced, my breath coming in sharp, ragged gasps. The room spun, the reality of the situation blurring into a fog of confusion and disbelief. Maya stood frozen, staring at Victor's body, her face a mask of emptiness. She had pulled the trigger, but now she looked like she regretted it, or maybe she regretted nothing at all. I couldn't tell. What I did know was that everything had changed in that instant. You have no idea what you're part of, do you? Victor's voice rang in my ears, even though he was lying motionless on the ground. You were never meant to win this. You were always just a pawn, Jonathan. I shook my head, trying to shake off the ringing in my ears. I wanted to ask Maya why. I needed to understand. But I couldn't get the words out. I was trapped in the whirlwind of everything that had just happened, everything I had missed. I took a step forward. Maya, what is going on? Tell me. I don't understand. She didn't look up. Her hands were trembling, and the gun, now discarded on the floor, reflected the dim light above. Her silence was deafening. She was shutting me out, just like she had done when she left me at the bakery. My chest tightened. I could feel the weight of the past few days crushing me. All of it had been leading to this, and now I was standing in the aftermath, unable to make sense of anything. Suddenly, there was a sharp sound, footsteps. I spun around, my heart leaping into my throat. Another figure stepped out of the shadows. Chris. I didn't want to see him. Not now. But there he was, standing in the doorway, his eyes cold and calculating. He was watching us, not even a flicker of surprise crossing his face at the sight of Victor on the floor. I felt my anger rise. Did you know? I demanded, my voice shaking with a mixture of disbelief and fury. Did you know all along? Chris didn't flinch. I didn't know how deep she was in it until recently. But I knew enough. Maya's been in this game longer than you think. I thought I was helping her, helping both of you, but I was wrong. He took a step closer, his gaze never leaving me. I should have stopped her sooner. Stop her from what? I snapped. From killing him? From getting herself in this mess, he shot back, his tone sharp. Victor's not just some crime boss. He's more dangerous than you can imagine. And Maya, she's in too deep to back out now. The gunshot? It was a mistake, Jonathan. A big one. And it's only going to get worse. Why are you here then? I demanded, my fists clenched. If you really cared, why didn't you stop her before it got this far? Chris hesitated, looking down at the floor as if the answer wasn't easy to say. Finally, he met my gaze. Because I thought she was ready to leave all of this behind. But she never was. He took another step forward, lowering his voice. She had a choice. You had a choice. But neither of you knew what you were really getting into. What the hell is that supposed to mean? My chest tightened as I realized there were even more layers to this than I could fathom. What did she get into, Chris? He glanced over at Maya, who still stood frozen, her eyes blank. He didn't respond for a moment, and then he let out a long, shaky breath. Maya didn't just get involved with Victor because she had no other choice. She's been running operations for him. Money laundering, inside information. She's been playing you both, the cops, the system, me, and you never saw it coming. But what you did see coming was the moment she finally crossed the line. I felt like the ground beneath me had just fallen away. Everything I thought I knew about Maya, everything I had believed about our future, was a lie. I had been used. We had been used. And I was still standing in the middle of it, with no way to undo what had already been done. Before I could respond, Maya spoke up, her voice trembling. It was never supposed to go this far, she said, her words barely above a whisper. But I had to. I didn't have a choice, Jonathan. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to be this person? Her words were like a punch to the gut. Didn't have a choice? She had always had a choice. I realized that now, every decision, every moment she'd spent with me, had been a lie. But that didn't make it any easier to hear. What are you saying? I asked, my voice tight. That you were forced into this? You were playing the game all along, Maya. And now you're telling me you had no choice. She didn't meet my eyes. Instead, she looked down at the floor, her shoulders hunched. It's too late now, she said, voice low and filled with regret. And even if I wanted out, I don't think anyone would let me. The words sank in like a stone. I stood there, unable to move, unable to speak. I could hear the faint hum of the city outside, the noise of the world going on without us. But inside this warehouse, time had stopped. I don't know what to do now, I muttered, more to myself than to anyone else. I don't know what to believe anymore. Chris's face softened, but it didn't comfort me. You've got a choice, Jonathan. You always have. But the choices are running out. The tension in the room thickened. I didn't know who to trust anymore. Maya, who had lied to me for so long, or Chris, who was the one who had been feeding me pieces of a broken puzzle. Suddenly, Maya's voice broke through the thick silence. You need to leave. Now. I looked at her, confused. What? There's no time. If you stay, we're both dead. She looked at Chris, then back at me. Get out. I'm not coming with you. My heart stopped. Maya. You've already lost me, she said, her voice barely a whisper. And you're going to lose everything else if you don't leave. I'm sorry, Jonathan. But I can't save you. The world around me felt like it was crashing down. The truth was out. The game was over. and I was the one left standing, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. I turned, my legs heavy, the weight of everything pressing down on me. The door creaked open, and I stepped out into the night. But I didn't know what to do next. I could feel the weight of the night bearing down on me as I stood on the sidewalk, staring at the warehouse behind me. The world felt unreal, as if everything I had believed in had shattered and I was left holding the pieces of something I didn't recognize. The flashing lights from the police cars seemed like a distant echo, the sirens blending with the pulsing chaos in my head. Maya was gone. She had made her choice. And me? I was left to pick up the wreckage of a life I thought I understood. The truth had come in waves, each one harder to swallow than the last. Maya, my fiancée, wasn't a victim of circumstances, she was a player in a much darker game. I had believed in her so completely, and now, I felt like a fool. But that was the thing about trust, wasn't it? It's fragile. It breaks with the slightest pressure. I hadn't been able to process everything yet. The fact that Maya was working with Victor Grant, that she had betrayed me in ways I couldn't even begin to comprehend, it all sat heavily in my chest, suffocating me. I couldn't focus. My mind kept replaying that moment at the warehouse when Maya had shot Victor, standing there, expression blank. Had I ever known her at all? But this wasn't just about Maya anymore. This was about survival. The people who had been pulling the strings, Victor, Maya, the syndicate, they wouldn't stop until everyone involved was buried. And I wasn't sure I could outrun them. As I walked through the wreckage of the night, the sound of my footsteps echoing against the concrete, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from Chris. They know you're coming for them. They know everything. You need to get out of here. I ignored it, shoving the phone back into my pocket. What could Chris tell me now that I didn't already know? What was left to understand? The realization hit me harder than anything else. The people I had trusted, the ones closest to me, had all been part of this twisted, dangerous world. I kept walking, my mind reeling. Where do I go now? My car was a few blocks away, parked in the same spot I'd left it when I first came here. But even the thought of returning to that car felt wrong, like I was heading straight back into the fire. There was no escape. Not for me. Not for Maya. Not for any of us. As I turned the corner, the glow of the streetlights flickered overhead. I knew I wasn't alone anymore. I could feel it, someone was watching me. I wasn't just paranoid. This was real. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I quickened my pace. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw him. The same man who had blocked my path in the warehouse, the one who had stood by as Maya shot Victor. His figure loomed in the shadows, silent but unmistakable. You can't run from this, Jonathan, he said, his voice cold and measured. I froze, my pulse hammering in my ears. What do you want? He stepped into the light, and I saw his face clearly for the first time. It was someone I knew, someone I trusted. Someone from my past. Chris. You? I gasped, struggling to comprehend the scene unfolding in front of me. You were part of this? Chris's lips curled into a bitter smile. I've been part of this all along. I was never just trying to protect you, Jonathan. I was part of the plan. The whole thing. You were always meant to be caught in the middle. I staggered back, the ground beneath me suddenly unstable. No. I don't believe you. But Chris just nodded. Maya was never the real player here. You were. And you've done exactly what we wanted. Everything froze. What? What do you mean? He stepped closer, his eyes gleaming with something dark, something dangerous. You were always the fallback. The one who would clean up the mess when things went wrong. Maya was the tool to get what we needed from you. She played her part. And you. Well, you just did yours. I felt like I was drowning, each word pulling me deeper into something I couldn't escape. You lied to me, I said, my voice raw. You've been lying to me the whole time. Chris shrugged. Sometimes, you have to lie to make people see the truth. You were never supposed to find out the real game. But now you have. My chest tightened as the implications of his words sank in. Everything, the wedding, the love, the future I thought I was building, it was all a manipulation. I wasn't the player in this game. I was the pawn. I wanted to scream, to lash out. But there was nothing left. You knew about Maya, I whispered, more to myself than to him. Of course I did, he said, his voice colder now. You were a tool, Jonathan. You always were. I didn't know what to say. There was nothing left to say. I stood there, broken, realizing that everything I had believed in had been a lie. In that moment, Chris's expression softened, just for a second. You never had a chance, you know. This was never about you. And with that, he turned, disappearing into the shadows from where he came. I was left standing alone in the empty street, the city still buzzing around me. Everything had collapsed in on itself, and I was left to pick up the pieces of a life that had never really been mine to begin with. As I stood there, the cold air biting at my skin, I realized something. There are moments in life when everything you thought you knew turns out to be wrong. When the people you trust the most shatter your world, and the truth is a weight too heavy to bear. But what matters in the end is how you choose to move forward. Maybe it wasn't about the lies anymore. Maybe it was about how I chose to rebuild my life after everything had fallen apart. The truth was ugly. The truth was painful. But it was mine now. And for the first time, I felt like I had control over something, my own future. I wasn't going to let anyone take that from me again. And that was the one truth I would hold on to.